we'd be able to keep that facility.
Okay, I'm out of time, so thank you. Stay tuned. After the break, I'll be joined by the National President and CEO of Goodwill Industries. The latest trend in the not-for-profit world is the creation of social venture enterprises, businesses that generate a profit for the agency and at the same time carry out larger social goals, like job training. Guess what? The idea isn't new. Ohio Valley Goodwill Industries has been a social venture enterprise for 95 years, in the process of taking used clothing and other goods on one end and selling them through a network of thrift shops on the other end. Goodwill uses the process to do job training for people who do not easily fit into the mainstream workforce. Welcome back. To mark the 95th anniversary of the local affiliate of the Goodwill Industries, Jim Gibbons, the national president and CEO, has come to Cincinnati. Originally from Indiana, Mr. Gibbons started his career at AT&T right here in Cincinnati. He has earned his bachelor's degree in industrial engineering from Purdue University and is the first blind person to graduate with a master's degree in business administration from Harvard University. Jim, welcome back to Cincinnati. It's good to have you here.
It's great to be back in Cincinnati.
And we're taping on Friday morning, and you were able to come yesterday and visit some Goodwill facilities and some of the people. And what is it that you encountered there? What was your experience when you got to those facilities?
Well, you mentioned it, the notion of social enterprise and social entrepreneurialism, and even though it's got the buzz of today, it's a very rich and glorious past. Here in Cincinnati, and you see it in every team member, their passion and their ability to innovate. And I always like to think that innovation isn't the next iPhone, but the next good idea to allow us to serve more people. And they do it here in Cincinnati in a role model fashion for the rest of the country and the world.
So this particular chapter is celebrating its 95th anniversary, but Goodwill goes back to about 1902. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, as a total movement, and how was it formed, and sort of what was its original vision?
Well, we think of ourselves as kind of the original social enterprise. We were founded by a Methodist minister, Reverend Edgar Helms, in 1902 in Boston, and originally he was focused on serving immigrants who really had difficulty finding a job and working through the language barriers and other barriers, but quickly found out that in collecting used goods, people didn't want to hand out, but they wanted to hand up. They started repairing those products, selling those products, and the first Goodwill was born. And then that movement moved from town to town and landed here in 1916. And history has been written and has been lived, and a bright future we see going forward.
So if we look at the Goodwill Industries movement across the country, what size, how many people are employed, how many people do you train when you're looking at it as a national phenomenon?
When you look across the broader Goodwill enterprise, we have 98,000 employees. Growing 15,000 employees in the last 3 years. So even in this tough economy, we continue to be an economic engine for the communities that we're a part of. We serve over 2.4 million people annually. We have relationships with 100,000 employers and place 170,000 people into community jobs throughout the country. So we really work hard to be a solution for the community and be a part of the community in a very meaningful and impactful way.
Now, you've been in this position as president and CEO for about 3.5 years.
Correct.
So a lot of that growth has come under your direction. Is this part of your vision? What is it that you bring to the organization?
Well, I like to think that I have a certain vision and an ability to offer leadership. But the way that I think the best thing I can do as a leader from a broader Goodwill perspective is foster that leadership and entrepreneurialism throughout the network. We are an on-the-ground organization, and each Goodwill morphs to the needs of their particular community. So, for example, the Goodwill here in the greater Cincinnati area many years ago, really saw a need for veterans and was a pioneer in veterans programs that is, as you know, today is really a very important issue, and practices that they started here in Cincinnati have been modeled and repeated throughout the country.
In fact, just maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, we did a special segment on this show about the new Veterans Court that exists here in Cincinnati, helping veterans who fall into legal problems stay out of the penal system, get training, and get back into productive parts of life. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, reading about Goodwill, one group that you serve are people who may be having a hard time finding a job because they've got a criminal record and need some job experience so they can get back into the mainstream.
Yeah, we serve a wide range of populations, whether it's the young woman with single mom with 3 kids without a high school education, or the young man who found himself on the wrong side of the law and is trying to right that. And you'll see more and more people with a record, and we view it as part of our mission to really work to educate and find the employers who are willing to give a person a second chance, and we've had great success.
Well, you were mentioning it, I think you said 107,000 employers that you have relationships with?
Over 100,000 across the country.
Okay, and that relationship means it's not just calling them up for a single job and saying we've got somebody you might be able to place in a job. You're developing an ongoing relationship with those firms. Is that right?
It's about creating a value proposition for the employer, recognizing that in the way we think about it, they're a customer and we're a talent provider, and we recognize what their needs are, and then connect the dots between the individual and the employer. And that solutions mindset is, I think, what differentiates Goodwill.
One of the things I want to obviously take note of here is that you're blind yourself. Do you think it's important that someone with a disability is heading up an organization like Goodwill?
Sometimes it's helpful, but we have extraordinary leaders throughout Goodwill who don't have a disability, but have an extraordinary passion and a belief in the human potential that I think is just as powerful. But I think the advantage to some degree is my ability to connect and recognize that job search process can have some challenges, and how do we overcome those challenges as a team, as a broader organization, and as individuals.
You have this amazing, and we gave a quick overview of your background in business before you came to Goodwill. You've got these degrees from Purdue and Harvard, 2 pretty good schools. And what is it in your own life, or maybe who was it, that made those sorts of things, that sort of success, mainstreaming, possible?
My parents. My parents were awesome. I have an older sister who's blind. I always joke around that they made all their mistakes on raising a young blind child on her, and they didn't. She's awesome. But, they had high expectations of me. They held me accountable to my chores, my homework, and to being respectful to people. And then they took those high expectations and surrounded them with the tools and the support and the love that was necessary for me to find success. And actually, those are the characteristics of Goodwill. We have high expectations of the people that we serve and work with, and then we surround those expectations with the tools, the support, and indeed the love that allow a person to really be empowered and fulfilled and successful.
I would be remiss if I didn't point out that I noticed in a story about you that when you lived in Cincinnati back in the 80s, right?
Okay.
That
I'm waiting.
The Cincinnati Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And they just celebrated their 100th anniversary in 2012, and I was fortunate enough to be the speaker at their annual dinner, and a great organization as well. Yeah,
a great organization with a legacy of fantastic leaders, and a social enterprise as well, that has the ability to put people who are blind to work in meaningful employment and using a business model to be successful with that.
We're out of time, but I really want to thank you for coming to Cincinnati to help the local chapter celebrate its 95th at the luncheon this afternoon, and also hope you continue to come back and see us again. And good luck in this enterprise that you're about and all the work that you do. And thank you for all the work that you do.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay. And if you want to find out more about local goodwill, go to www.cincinnatigoodwill.org or shop online at www.shopgoodwill.com. I didn't know you could shop online at Goodwill. That's new to me.
Shop Goodwill's a great tool.
They're another resource. You and Amazon. Thank you for making Local 12 Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. Join us again next Sunday on Christmas morning for a very special program featuring voices from across the religious spectrum. Have a good week.